A 6-3 Supreme Court ruling changed the carry game in a single morning, and a lot of gun owners still don't understand what it actually did. Pause. The scary part is this. If you're still following the old rules in your head, you could make a decision today that puts your freedom at risk tomorrow. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because these legal updates move fast, and what you don't know can hurt you. If you want plain English breakdowns without the nonsense, hit that subscribe button right now. Here's what just happened, and why this case mattered so much. The case was New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen. Before that ruling, New York used a system that said you could not just ask for a normal concealed carry permit and get judged by clear rules. You had to prove proper cause. In plain English, that meant the government wanted you to show some special reason to carry, something beyond normal self-defense. So if you were an ordinary law-abiding person who simply wanted to protect yourself, that often was not enough. That is the old assumption the Supreme Court shattered. Most people thought the government could look at your life, look at your neighborhood, and basically say, nope, your reason is not good enough. But the court said that was backwards. The Second Amendment protects ordinary law-abiding citizens who want to carry a handgun in public for self-defense. Not just celebrities, not just security guards, not just people who had already been attacked. You did not have to prove you were special. That was the bombshell. Pause. And let me tell you why that hit like a truck. For years, many people believed carrying outside your home was some kind of extra privilege the state could hand out only to a chosen few. The Bruen decision said no. The right to bear arms does not stop at your front door. That one sentence flipped decades of thinking. But here's the crazy part. Bruen did not just strike down one New York rule. It also changed the way courts are supposed to look at gun laws. Before Bruen, many lower courts used a balancing test. They would look at the law, then weigh the government's safety reasons against your rights. Sounds normal, right? The Supreme Court rejected that approach. The court said, if the Second Amendment covers the conduct, then the government has to show that its law fits with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. That is a huge deal. Why does that matter to you? Because now the question is not just, does this law seem reasonable to a judge? The question is there a real historical tradition that supports this kind of restriction? That changed the battlefield overnight. Suddenly, states had to defend carry restrictions with history, not just policy arguments. Now, this is where it gets interesting. A lot of people heard that ruling and thought, great, permit systems are dead, sensitive place laws are dead, carry restrictions are dead. Wrong. And this is the part that shocked me when I first dug deep into the opinion. The court did not say every carry law is unconstitutional. It said New York's special needs system was unconstitutional. That is a big difference. The justices made clear that objective licensing systems can still exist. In simple terms, a state can still require things like a background check, fingerprints, training, or other clear rules that apply the same way to everyone. What the state cannot do, at least under Bruen, is tell you that your need for self-defense is too ordinary to count. Self-defense is enough. That was the earthquake. Let me break this down with a real-world picture. Imagine two people. Person one applies for a permit in a system where the state checks criminal history, training records, and identity. If he passes, he gets the permit. That is an objective system. Person two applies in a system where a licensing officer says, tell me why you deserve this more than your neighbor. That is the kind of system Bruen put in serious trouble. Most people miss that difference. Don't make that mistake. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the 5 words that can protect you when police ask about your gun. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. Now let's talk about the part nobody talks about enough. Bruen expanded carry rights, yes. But it also created a dangerous trap for gun owners who think the fight is over. It is not over, not even close. Because the minute Bruen came down, states started rewriting their laws. Some moved to comply, others pushed right up to the line, and some, in the eyes of many gun owners, tried to rebuild the same wall using different bricks. New York is the perfect example. After Bruen, the state passed a new law called the Concealed Carry Improvement Act. That law changed permit rules, added sensitive location restrictions, and tried to control where licensed people could carry. This is where old assumptions died again. Many people thought, if Bruen struck down New York's old law, then New York is done. Not true. The legal fight kept going, and it got messy fast. Here's what most people get wrong. Bruen did not say you can carry anywhere. The court specifically said there can still be sensitive places where guns are banned. Think places like schools and government buildings. The court also mentioned places like courthouses and polling places as examples from history. But the court warned states that they cannot call every crowded place a sensitive place. In other words, a state cannot just wave a magic wand and turn all of modern life into a gun-free zone. That would wipe out the right the court just recognized. So what happened next? Lower courts had to sort out where the line is, and that line is still being argued over. Some restrictions were challenged. Some survived early review. Some took major hits. For example, parts of New York's post-Bruen law faced serious challenges, especially rules that treated broad areas of private property open to the public as off-limits unless the owner gave express permission. That matters because if most businesses become default no-carry zones, then your right on paper starts shrinking in real life. Let me give you a hypothetical example to explain this. Let's say you have a valid carry permit, you stop for gas, then you grab coffee, then you walk into a small store. Under your old understanding, you might think, I'm licensed, I'm fine. But if your state has special rules about private property, posted notices, or location-based bans, that same trip could turn into a legal nightmare. That is why this issue matters so much. The case did not just change theory. It changed daily decisions. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. And here's another trap. State lines still matter. A lot of people heard Supreme Court carry case and assumed that meant one national carry rule. Absolutely not. Bruen did not create universal reciprocity. It did not mean your permit works everywhere. It did not erase local rules on notification, vehicle carry, posted property, prohibited places, or magazine limits. So if you carry from one state into another and rely on internet comments instead of current law, you're gambling with your future. Have you ever wondered why so many gun owners get blindsided during traffic stops? This is one reason. They know they have a gun. They know they have a permit. They assume that is enough. But disclosure rules are different from state to state. Storage rules differ. Where the firearm is placed in the car can matter. Whether you are entering a posted location can matter. And whether your permit is recognized can matter most of all. Most people think the biggest risk is the anti-gun state with strict permits. But the truth is, the biggest risk is false confidence. Thinking you know the law when you only know the headline. Thinking Bruen made you safe when all it really did was open a new legal chapter. That mindset can get people in serious trouble. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the gun owners who get these updates first and stay ahead of the changes. Click subscribe right now. Now let's get to the deeper lesson from all of this, because this is the part that really matters. Bruen shattered one old carry assumption, but a later Supreme Court case shattered another. In 2024, the court decided United States versus Rahimi. That case was not about ordinary carry permits. It dealt with whether someone under a domestic violence restraining order could be temporarily disarmed after a court found that person posed a credible threat. The court upheld that law. Why should you care about Rahimi if this video is about carry? Because it proves something huge. Bruen did not wipe out all gun restrictions. It did not create a world where every regulation falls automatically. Rahimi said the government does not need a perfect historical twin from 1791 to defend a law. The court said the law only needs a relevant historical analog. In plain English, courts look at whether a modern law is similar enough in purpose and burden to old laws that fit our tradition. That means the story now is not carry wins everything. The real story is more complicated. The court is saying there is a protected right to bear arms in public for self-defense, but there's also room for some limits, especially when the government can point to historical tradition. That is why anyone telling you Bruen made every carry restriction dead is overselling it, and anyone telling you Bruen changed nothing is also wrong. The truth is right in the middle, and that is where you need to live if you want to stay legal. Let me put it another way. The old anti-carry assumption was this. You need to prove some special reason before the government lets you exercise your right. Bruen crushed that. But the old pro-carry assumption that followed was this. Once Bruen happened, you can basically carry wherever you want, as long as you're not a prohibited person. Rahimi and the lower court fights crushed that fantasy too. Pause. So what should you do with all this? First, stop relying on old gun store wisdom. I'm serious. My buddy says is not a legal defense. Second, check your own state's current carry law, not the version you remember from 3 years ago. Third, learn your state's sensitive place rules and private property rules. Fourth, know whether your state requires you to inform law enforcement during a stop. Fifth, if you travel, verify reciprocity every single time, not once a year, every trip. And here's a big warning. Don't confuse this law is being challenged with this law is gone. That mistake can wreck your life. A law can be under attack in court and still be enforceable today. A judge may block one part and leave 3 other parts standing. An appeals court may pause a ruling. The Supreme Court may refuse to step in right away. So if you hear that law got struck, your next question should be, all of it, right now, in my state, under what order? That one habit can save you from a very expensive mistake. Imagine you're carrying lawfully under what you believe is a valid permit. You walk into a place you thought was fine. Then an officer says that location is restricted under state law. In that moment, the internet hot take that made you feel confident will not help you. Your clean record will not automatically help you. Your good intentions will not automatically help you. What matters is what the law actually says that day. This information can change with one new court order, one new state law, or one new appellate ruling. Subscribe now, because the next video will walk you through the exact carry mistakes that trap good people who think they're following the law. So here's the bottom line. The 6-3 Bruen ruling shattered the idea that only people with a special need can carry for self-defense in public. But it did not create a free-for-all, and later cases made that crystal clear. You're right, maybe stronger than it was before, but your responsibility to know the rules is bigger than ever. If this video helped you cut through the noise, subscribe right now and stay with this channel. I break this stuff down so regular people can actually understand it before they make a mistake that follows them for years. And one last thing, always double check current law in your state and talk to a qualified attorney if you need advice for your specific situation.